Guest is one of the premier life coaches in the Northeast, focusing on how to get through the bumpy moments in life. She also works with people who endure tragic events, such as the recent plane crash in East Haven, and helps survivors process stress and depression. We welcome Susan Korwin. Susan, thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
What do you tell people? I mean, we all lose people eventually, loved ones in our lives. But we're talking about taking that example. Children, first of all, it happens literally out of the blue and figuratively out of the blue as well. And so suddenly, that's a whole different ballgame. How do you tell the family? What do you tell the families?
It's a very tough, first of all, it's a tragedy, and my condolences to everybody that is involved in this horrible tragedy. Life sometimes throws us into overwhelming situations for which we have no answer.
And no preparation,
No
really.
preparation. And anger and depression are usually byproducts of our pain. And the only thing I could say is, this is what I tell my clients, unfortunately in life we just don't have control. We have no control over things that happen to us. And you know, it's the old story, bad things happen to good people, you know, and the most important thing is to remember to not be isolated. You have to ask for help. You have to reach out to family, reach out to friends, and realize that you have strength that you may not have known you had before.
And certainly this takes a lot of time,
It takes a lot of time. Do not force things. Don't rush yourself. Feel the pain and grieve as you need to. And you know, it will lessen. It's just a matter of perspective. It's a tough thing, but bad things do happen, and it's not in our control.
What can people do to reduce the feeling of being victims or the depression? Because that can linger for a long time.
Having a victim mentality and blaming others actually steals your power, and we can do more. Mm-hmm. The important thing is to realize that you're not a victim. You are not, nobody punished, nobody singled you out. You didn't do anything wrong. Don't beat yourself up. And realize there's, you know, this is a fact. A bamboo tree can withstand gale force winds of 80 miles per hour, and they just bend all the way to the ground, and they bounce right back up. And I tell people, be like a bamboo tree. Realize you have strength. You're just like the bamboo tree. You could bend, but you will not break.
Right.
You have a lot of leeway. You're very flexible. And we sometimes think we can't handle things, and we can. And sometimes out of these horrible tragedies, we find that we had strength we never realized we had. We find relationships get stronger that we didn't have before. Mm-hmm. So, you know, everything, you know, comes full term and works out in the end. But we never stop grieving, but we have to realize it just wasn't in our control.
Now, my belief might not apply to everyone, and I recognize that, but for example, I do believe in God, and I tend to believe that God expects that at times we're going to shake our fist at the sky and say, why?
And you should, and there's no reason not to.
Right.
But you have to also realize that there is no rhyme or reason. There is a reason. In the universe somewhere, there is a reason for it.
But it's beyond our capacity
to understand. But it's beyond our capacity,
we just have to accept
and
that.
And by torturing ourselves where it's not getting us anywhere. We just have to try to do the best we can to move on.
And a moment or two ago, we were showing video, of course, that plane crash during and after the aftermath of that. But let's talk about some more routine, day-to-day drama and trauma that happens in pretty much everyday life. How do you deal with that?
Well, you know, people could make, it's the old story, mountains out of molehills. Mm-hmm. People do that. People will, you know, there are some people that could face any tragedy and be strong, and there are others that if they get a hangnail, they're you know, with their head under the covers.
They come unglued.
So I always say, you know, you have to find one thing to be grateful for. There is always, even in the worst situations in life, there is something to be grateful for.
Oxygen.
Exactly. You woke up, you have legs, you were able to get out of bed.
Right.
That's, wow, how fantastic is that? So there's always something to be grateful for. If you find gratefulness, you can't be depressed, because you can't have two opposing feelings. So it's like if you put a brick in liquid, the liquid will be displaced.
Displace it with gratitude.
So if you displace your anger and depression with something that you feel grateful for, you will be surprised at the feeling of all of a sudden the depression lifts.
Give it its time and space, and then move on from it until you need to go back to it. You have a lot of clients. What are some of the common or most common obstacles to peace and happiness for people?
The most common obstacle to peace and happiness is their self-talk. You know, we are the this is what they say. They'll say, you know, I woke up this morning and I said, what's the purpose of getting out of bed? I don't have a job. I lost my job. The economy's terrible. I hate life. And I say, well, there's still plenty to be grateful for. You're not handicapped. You have family. You have to, again, back to being grateful. You know, it's our self-talk. We narrate our story of our life the way we speak to each other. We're basically hypnotizing ourselves. We hypnotize ourselves by telling us how bad things are, or we could hypnotize ourselves.
All over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So it's all about, again, it's all about, you know, our perspective of our lives, and that's how we gain peace and happiness, by seeing the good instead of the bad, by putting a but at the end of every sentence.
Right.
For instance,
everything's terrible, but.
But exactly.
But
I don't want to go
this.
to. I hate my job, but I am so lucky that I have a job when others are not employed.
We have to go.
Yes.
But this is a great segment. By the way, you have a book out, and how can people get that?
Yes, my book is.
Positive Change.
I didn't need to pick it up.
That's
I
all
guess.
right. Simple strides toward
positive change. If you want more information, there's a whole treasure trove of things that I could teach you. It's available on my website. The book, SusanKorwin.net. It's available on Amazon.com as a digital. And
Perfect.
It's an audio everywhere, iTunes, everything.
All right, we've got a split for now. Thank you so much for coming in, Susan.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
All right.